All right. Shalom, I'm back. Shalom, I'm back. Hopefully, this video won't be as long as the first one, but like I said, there's a lot of reading to go through. And what I'm going to do here is focus in terms of kingdom marriage, focus on the expectations and the benefits of the kingdom marriage. Okay. This is something that's expected in a marriage that reflects the kingdom of Yehovah. Okay. There's many marriages throughout this world, but not all marriages reflect, and a lot of marriages probably don't reflect the kingdom. Okay, the kingdom marriage, what Yehoshua expects in a kingdom marriage. Okay, because the kingdom marriage is supposed to glorify Yah, it's supposed to glorify what He has established, His ways, His standards, His orders, all things, and the blessings that come with it. Because obviously, with a kingdom marriage, really with any marriage, because if it's done under a covenant with Yah, there is a blessing or blessings that come with it. Okay, so benefits that come with it. Okay, as well as expectations, responsibilities that come with it as well. Okay, so you're being given a good gift. Remember, it says in scripture, a man who finds a wife finds a good thing and finds favor of Yahuwah. Okay, we will look at that as well as one of the benefits. But I want to go into some personal revelation. Well, not personal revelation, but some revelation as I was meditating on the scriptures. Some of the things that Yah ministered to me just from meditating by His Spirit and through dream. Okay, I don't think it's two dreams, but dreams, dreams through dreams. Okay. Um, so as I was meditating on the scriptures that I've read to you, well, really it was from Proverbs 5. And we will go into that. Whew. Okay. I'm going to read the summary of what I wrote here. Okay, so I had a dream where Yah was teaching me more about the kingdom marriage. So I was taught more what holy sex looks like. So when a man and a husband and wife joins together to become one flesh, we'll call that holy sex. I'm just going to use the term holy knowing. Okay, holy knowing. All right, just to be more discreet. Okay, protect the eye gates and the ear gates of the listeners, because you just never know. Okay, so what does holy knowing look like? Okay, I just said what it is. Okay, so holy knowing is based on the man's self-sacrificial love for his wife. Self-sacrificial love is the foundation. Otherwise, the knowing, okay, you know what that is, the intimacy, the intercourse, is not truly holy unto Yehovah. Under the context of holy knowing, the husband must first please or fulfill his wife first prior to pleasing himself in the act. Okay, proof of this is found in the scriptures of Proverbs chapter 5, verse 15 and 16. So let's go ahead and just look at that for a moment. I don't think I wrote it down here, but I did write it down in my other notes. Yes, let's go ahead and look at that. So I want you to turn to Proverbs chapter 5, verse 15. I'm going to read 15 through 19, and then we'll come back and we'll look at verse 15 and 16 in the Hebrew. All right. So what laid the foundation of me making that summarized statement from the dream that Yah was giving me to understand? Okay. Proverbs chapter 5, verse 15 reads, "Drink waters out of your own cisterns and running waters out of your own well." Verse 16, "Let your fountains be dispersed abroad and rivers of waters in the streets." Verse 17, "Let them be only your own and not strangers with you." Verse 18, "Let your fountain be blessed and rejoice with the wife of your youth. Verse 19, let her be as the loving hind and a pleasant roe. Let her breasts satisfy you at all times, and be you ravished always with her love. Okay, so verse 15. Why does verse 15 and 16 is referring to the holy knowing? Okay, well, you have to look at the Hebrew. All right. So here I did a summary of the Hebrew words regarding waters, drink. I'm not sure if you can see it very well. Regarding waters, drink, fountain. Okay. I'm holding it up so you can pause it. Maybe look at it. Okay. So, fountain in general. Well, the verse 18. Okay. So let's look at the first thing, waters. If you look at waters in verse 15 and 16, waters, running waters, fountain, rivers of waters. Okay, anything that consists, really, the word comes from Mayim, Strong's 4325, which can be anything that consists of water, such as juice, urine, semen, etc. Okay, so in this case, we know the first part, drink, in the Hebrew refers to the word shatah. Okay, shatah. And shatah comes from the Strong's 8354, to imbibe. That means to drink in, to absorb. Okay, as a dry or porous body imbibes a fluid. Okay, a sponge imbibes a fluid. All right, so when it says drink, you're absorbing, you're taking in from a dry body, taking in fluid. Okay, and it mentions cistern. Okay. Yes, cistern and wells. Okay, cistern and wells, if you look up the Hebrew, is really referring to the woman's private area. Okay, that canal. Okay, it's like a well, you know, you go down and then there's fluid that builds up. All right. Okay, which typically what happened in the act, fluid will build up. All right, that's what's supposed to happen. Okay, it doesn't always happen, but that's what's supposed to happen. So drinking the waters, the fluid that she produces, okay, is the man's skin absorbing that fluid. Okay, so verse 15 is really talking about what we call the female orgasm. All right. Now, verse 16 is referring to the male orgasm. Okay, fountains, okay, spewing out something. Fountains are obviously referring to fluids dispersed abroad. Okay, rivers of waters. This is talking about, obviously, I think I mentioned waters can mean anything that consists of water, such as juice, urine, semen, etc. You can probably guess what this part is. All right. And that, when it says in the streets, we know scientifically when that happens in the act, there's actually little highways that are produced for the sperm to travel up. All right. So that is the order that is given. So, okay, when it says drink waters, out of your own cistern, the cistern obviously referring to the woman's canal, you know, in the reproductive area. Waters referring to the waters that she produces, absorbing, obviously referring to the man's skin. Running waters out of your own wells. Okay, it's just emphasizing the same thing. So verse 15 is emphasizing that the woman must receive her pleasure first. Okay, verse 16, you see the man receiving his pleasure second. Okay, so when it says, let your fountains be dispersed abroad and rivers of waters in the streets. Okay, remember, as I said, scientifically, well, when that happens, there's these little streets that produce inside the woman's canal, and that allows the sperm to travel up through it. All right. Um, so that is what verse 15 and 16 is talking about. So you see the order there. The woman peaks first, okay, then followed by the man. So this is what happens in the act of the two becoming one. Okay, verse 17, obviously, that's pretty self-explanatory. You're not going to do this with strangers, all right? This is for husband and wife under covenant with Yah. Okay, the other part, verse 18, let your fountain be blessed, which is saying the woman's inner part, her inner private part, be blessed. Okay, so that area is filled, on a continual basis, and rejoice with the wife of your youth. So you all both supposed to enjoy that process of holy knowing. And obviously admonishes the man, let her be as a loving hind and pleasant roe. Okay, so um, a hind is, a female deer that's surrenders. Okay, so there's not supposed to be any resistance really on the part of the wife. And, let her breast satisfy you at all times. And you be ravished always with her love. All right. So he's supposed to continually be enamored with his wife, even as she ages. Okay, so I'm going to continue to read the summary part here. All right, so as I mentioned from Proverbs chapter 5, 15 through 19, you can go back through it. You can pause, look at the video, see the Strong's Concordance numbers, go do the work yourself. All right. I'm not sure if I showed this part. Okay. That's the other part I was reading from. I actually wrote down the scripture. Okay. So this shows from this, what I read from Proverbs chapter 5, verse 15 through 19. This shows that he is laying down his life for his wife, who he truly, deeply loves. The husband can do so because before she loved him, he loved her first. He loved her first. This reflects the kingdom marriage, Yehoshua Mashiach HaNazari and his bride to be. In the act, he must show that his love for his wife is enduring, okay, before he is allowed to please himself. Okay, I will read this again. In the act, he must show that his love for his wife is enduring before he is allowed to please himself. So I showed you proof in the scriptures, Proverbs chapter 5, verse 15. So he must have the stamina to make sure that she has her pleasure fulfilled first, then he after. Okay, so as the weaker vessel is the woman, so the man helps her to reach her peak. His loving strength will help her get there, for he is stronger. Afterwards, he can peak. Then abundant life can flow freely from him to her. Okay, this is the part where you saw in Genesis, be fruitful and multiply. This too models the order of the kingdom. The husband can then receive of his wife's good fruits as he strengthens her and pours out strongly his gentle yet powerful love. This too models the kingdom. In such order, Jehovah is glorified and the devil is put to shame. Now, if the husband performs this act for his own pleasure only, using his wife's body to do so, Jehovah is not glorified, even though the marriage bed remains undefiled. So, Hebrews chapter 13, verse 4 reads, marriage is honorable in all, and the bed undefiled. But whoremongers and adulterers, Elohim will judge. Okay? So, adulterer, remember what Yehoshua said about divorce and remarry? Okay? Under what circumstances? Those people become adulterers in his eyes. I didn't make it up. He said it. So if anyone has an issue with that, take it up to Yehoshua and let him deal with that part. Okay. So I hope that right there showed you some of the expectations in the actual becoming one flesh. Okay. Now we will also, let's see. All right. So what happens when this happens is that the wife becomes, knowing that she is loved the way she loves, she becomes strengthened. Okay, so she becomes energized to do the work of helping, to do the work of submitting. Okay, this activates her strength, her ability, because she is the weaker vessel. It activates her ability to serve her, to love her husband, and to submit to him as unto Yahweh. Okay, as he's being the ambassador of Messiah. Okay, I'm not talking about being the ambassador of the devil. Okay, I did not say submit to your husband in the flesh. Okay, submitting to your husband in the Ruach HaKodesh as he is submitting himself unto Yehoshua. All right, let's get the order straight. Okay, because this is what Yah expects for a kingdom marriage. A kingdom marriage. I'm going to read Ephesians chapter 5, verse 21 through 33. I think I started at 22. I'm sorry, 22. Wives, submit yourselves unto your husbands as unto Adonai. Verse 23. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Mashiach is the head of the assembly, and he is the savior of the body. Okay, he saves the body, right? Verse 24. Therefore, as the assembly is subject unto Mashiach, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything. So if you look up the word in the Strong's, the Greek, it's 5293. Okay, coming from 5259 and 5021. Submit, which means to subordinate, to put yourself under. Hupotasso, hupotasso, which they translate to obey, subordinate, submit yourself unto. Now the word hupo, 5259, means under, and tasso, 5021, means to assign, set, or ordain. So she's ordained to do a task under her husband. She's assigned to do a task under her husband. Okay, she is set to do a work under her husband. All right. Verse 25. Husbands, love your wives, even as Mashiach also loved the assembly and gave himself for it. Verse 26. That he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of the word. With the washing of water. Okay, by the word. I'll read that again. Verse 26. That he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word. Okay, so the word washes. Okay, the word washes us clean. It cleanses and it sanctifies the assembly. So this is why I mentioned in my intro video why it's the responsibility of the husband to sanctify and cleanse his wife with the Yahweh's word, with the scriptures, through the Ruach HaKodesh, through the Holy Spirit. He is supposed to cleanse and sanctify his wife unto the kingdom of Yah. He's supposed to be preparing her for eternity. That is his responsibility as a husband to his wife in a kingdom marriage. You probably realize this doesn't happen in most marriages. So I'm teaching what Yah's teaching me, that this is what he expects for his sons and his daughters in a kingdom marriage. Okay? The husband must sanctify and cleanse his wife daily with the washing of the word, okay, washing of water by the word. 27, that he might present it to himself a glorious assembly, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it should be holy and without blemish. It is the responsibility of the husband to make sure that his wife is holy unto Yah and without blemish. It is the man's responsibility to do what I mentioned in verse 26 so that he can present his wife before Yahuwah as being without spot, without wrinkle, being holy. Okay? This is not a kingdom marriage, is not one of those marriages where the man says, a woman, I want you to look sexy for me. Woman, I want everybody to see your body. Okay. That is not holy. That is not the example of a kingdom marriage. And unfortunately, you have believing women who are in marriages who say, I have to do this because my husband won't like it if I don't. Well, his responsibility is to make you holy before Yah. His responsibility is to make you without blemish. So if he's not doing that work, he's essentially working for the devil. Okay? He's essentially working for his flesh, which is essentially working for the devil. All right? That is not a kingdom marriage. Okay, he should respect the fact that Yah still wants the wives to be holy unto him. Okay, verse 28. So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. He that loves his wife loves himself. So if a man or a husband is resenting and hating you, you know what? In Yah's eyes, he really hates himself. He hates himself. Okay, it tells you right there. If he doesn't love his wife, he hates himself. He can't stand himself. He can't stand his own self. Okay, verse 29. For no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourished it and cherished it, even as Adonai the assembly. Verse 33. I skipped down to verse 33. Nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife, even as himself, and the wife see that she reverence her husband. So in the Greek, I'm not sure this would be the best use. If it's probably better use in the Hebrew, but it only gives us the Greek. So the Greek 5399 is phobia, which means to be afraid or to be in awe of. Okay, so she's supposed to have a awe of her husband, of all the things that he does for her, how he lifts her up in Yah, how he pleases her and cleaves to her. She's supposed to be in awe. Okay. Okay, that was some other study I did. I'm trying to make sure that so it's one thing to emphasize. Let's see, Psalm 45. Let me go to Psalm 45. I got Psalm 45 for a reason. Okay, Psalm 45. Proverbs. Okay. Oh, I already have my pencil close by. Psalm 45 is, oh, that's prophetic. Okay. Okay. That's prophetic utterance. It still does pertain to marriage in part, but I will actually, yes, let's focus on this. Is prophetic because this is about the prophetic kingdom marriage. All right. So turn to Psalm 45 because this is prophetic. Okay, I'm gonna read it. So you can see how the love of the king is reflected for the queen. Okay, verse 1. My heart is inditing a good matter. I speak of the things which I have made touching the king. My tongue is the pen of a ready writer. Verse 2. You are fairer or more beautiful than the children of men. Okay, this is how a husband should look at his wife. Okay, grace is poured into your lips. Therefore, Elohim has blessed you forever. Verse 3. Gird your sword upon your thigh, O most mighty, with your glory and your majesty. So we see here that the man reflecting Yah's kingdom is supposed to protect, guard his wife. Okay. Verse 4. And in your majesty ride prosperously because of truth and meekness and righteousness, and your right hand shall teach you terrible things. Okay, so being in this type of kingdom marriage causes one to prosper, to have increased wealth. I'm going to go through the list of benefits. All right, verse 5. Thine arrows are sharp in the heart of the king's enemies, whereby the people fall under thee. Now, if you know some other verses that we have, I can go to it. Arrows are referring to children. Okay. Remember, it talks about the arrows is referring to children. So the offspring of this kingdom marriage, these arrows, these sharp arrows, okay, will pierce the heart of the king's enemies. All right. And the people shall fall under the king because of it. Okay. This is, let me see. Let me go to the okay, arrows. All right. I'm going to go to that verse, but I'm going to keep reading. Verse 6. Your throne, O Elohim, is forever and ever. The scepter of your kingdom is a right scepter. Verse 7. You love righteousness and hate wickedness. Therefore, Elohim, your Elohim, has anointed you with the oil of gladness above your fellows. Verse 8. All your garments smell of myrrh and aloe and cassia out of the ivory palaces whereby they have made you glad. Verse 9. King's daughters are among your honorable women, and upon your right hand stand the queen in gold over fear. Okay, so the queen is on the right side. Okay, so essentially, for a husband, his wife should be on his right side. Okay, that much honor that he has for his wife, that he treats her with royalty, he endures her in richness. Okay, doesn't mean, I'm not talking about vanity, but means he doesn't, he what he does, he adores her and he adorns her. Okay, to highlight this righteousness, to highlight this meekness and truth that is within his wife. Okay, adorning her in the gold of Ophir. So the queen is adorned in gold over Ophir. Okay, I found the other verse. Verse 10. Hearken, O daughter, and consider and incline your ears. Forget also your own people and your father's house. Verse 11. So shall the king greatly desire your beauty. Okay, so a husband should greatly desire the beauty of his wife, the natural beauty of his wife, for he is your Adonai, and worship you him. Okay, so remember, Sarah called Abraham her Adon, all right, okay, her Lord. Okay, verse 12. And the daughter of Zor shall be there with a gift. Even the rich among the people shall entreat your favor. Okay, so more favor, right? Verse 13, the king's daughter is all glorious within. Okay, so even the children, okay, the king's daughter, it's like decorated, all right? Her clothing is of wrought gold. Okay, so even the husband takes well care of his children, especially his daughters, okay, that he's got to protect. Verse 14, she shall be brought unto the king in raiment of needlework. The virgins, her companions that follow her, shall be brought unto you. Verse 15, with gladness and rejoicing shall they be brought. They shall enter into the king's palace. Verse 16, instead of your fathers shall be your children, whom you may make prince or princess, not like princesses, but princess in all the earth. Okay, rulers, leaders, okay, people of great power and royalty. Verse 17, and I will make your name to be remembered in all generations. Therefore shall the people praise you forever. All right, so that's Psalm 45, but as you can see, it's prophetic. But you can see how the kingdom marriage would actually reflect that. And we look at Psalm 127, verse 4 and 5, and we'll turn to that, verse 4 and 5. All right. Um, verse 4 reads, as arrows are in the hand of a mighty man, so are the children of youth. Verse 5, happy is the man that has his quiver full of them. He shall not be ashamed, but they shall speak with the enemies in the gate. All right. They shall contend with their opponents in court, okay, in the gate. All right. So a husband who has children, these arrows, is considered a mighty man. And hopefully the husband would understand that when he's producing offspring in a kingdom marriage, he is a mighty man producing mighty arrows for Yah's glory. Okay. He should have that understanding. He should have that heart attitude. Unfortunately, many men are not trained by their fathers with that attitude in our present day world, in our present day society, especially. Um, but this is why Yah's restoring these things. This is why this teaching is so important, because we need to understand what Yah expects of us, because he wants to restore these things in his people, those remnant of Israel, those who are called by Yah's name, who truly want to follow him. This is why this teaching is important, because this is what he wants to restore in these last days before his return. Okay, these are things we need to understand. All right. So also I want you to look at Genesis chapter 29, verse 23. It says there, and it came to pass in the evening, okay, it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah, his daughter, so this is Laban, and brought her to him. Obviously, this is Yaakov. He's brought her to Yaakov, and he went in unto her. Okay. Now look at the word went in unto her. You might see some translations might say went before her. Okay. Went in unto her, went before her. It probably, the preposition probably means the same thing. Okay. Went in unto her or went before her. So if you think about it that way, think about Yehoshua entering into the new Jerusalem. Okay. And the children of Yah, the children of the Most High, are there. Think the wife as a palace that the husband enters into. Okay. So you see that actually in Song of Solomon, chapter 8, verse 9 and 10. And we can go there because all of this is to show you what the kingdom marriage looks like, what is expected, what Yah really expects of his sons and daughters. But obviously, this is to minister to the daughters, whether you're single or married. If you're not married, this is good for you to know beforehand, because you don't want to lower your standards for nobody. Don't matter how good looking that man is, okay? Or what he has or how much he has. You don't want to do that, because you will find yourself in the hot seat later. All right. Song of Solomon 8, verse 9. Oh, let's start at verse 8. If we have a little sister and she has no breast, what shall we do for our sister in the day when she shall be spoken for? Verse 9. If she be a wall, we will build upon her a palace of silver. And if she be a door, we will enclose her with boards of cedar. Verse 10. I am a wall, and my breasts like towers. Then was I in his eyes as one that found favor. Okay? So you see that the wife here, okay, we're talking about the bride and the bridegroom, but you see that she's referred to as a wall. She declares herself as a wall. So therefore, she's pretty much is a palace. All right? That her husband enters into, okay? A glorious echadness, if you want to, echadness, unity, oneness that occurs. So how is the kingdom marriage being profaned in the earth? We're going to look at that in my next video, because I don't want it to go too long. But here are some blessings. As you probably have heard me already mention, I'm going to summarize what the blessings, the benefits are. Increase favor with Yahweh. Increase wealth. Okay, so number 1, increase favor with Yahweh. Number 2, increase wealth. Number 3, increase authority and power. Okay, given to the husband and wife, but to the man. Okay, mighty man, because a mighty man. All right. A close relationship and greater intimacy. Okay, in the act of holy knowing. All right. You know my coined term. Number 5, posterity, addition of righteous seeds. Okay, he wants to establish righteous seeds, not wicked seeds, righteous seeds. And number 6, increase pleasure. All right. So with that, comes these things. Of course, there comes a responsibility because she is the rib. The woman is the rib. She's the weaker vessel. The man must support her. Okay. Otherwise, she just has a hissy fit and she breaks down. She goes crazy, and everyone goes, "What happened to women?" All right. Okay. So we will go and more into the other part of what happens when it's profaned and what profanes it, what makes it unholy, what makes a kingdom marriage become an unholy one or defiles the marriage. What defiles the marriage? What profanes it? Okay. What boundaries are broken? We're going to look at some of the Torah. Okay. So we can understand what boundaries are broken, right? Let me just check to make sure. I think that's all that I'm going to do for this particular part 2. All right. I'm just checking. And I probably will have to go over some more expectations. For sure. I just don't want this video to be way too long. Let's go look at some of the other expectations before I end this video, because I do have a few more expectations here. And then I'll go into later on what profanes it, what violates it, what displeases Yah if something happens in the marriage that does not reflect the kingdom marriage. Let's look at 1 Corinthians chapter 6, I think 6:16. I just want to make sure I cover all my bases so I don't have to backtrack, because I want to keep this as orderly as possible. Otherwise, I feel like a lot of women be like, oh my gosh, she got all this information, all this scripture, and I can't keep up to where she's at because she's like all over the place. I do not want to be all over the place. Okay? It's chapter 7, I think. Oh, no. I'm at Romans. Sorry, 1 Corinthians chapter. Yes. 1 Corinthians chapter 6 verse 16 reads, "What? Know you not that he which is joined to a harlot, a prostitute, is one body? For two, says he, shall be one flesh." All right. But, verse 17, but he that is joined unto Adonai is one ruach. Verse 18, flee fornication. Every sin that a man does is without the body. But he that commits fornication sins his own body. Okay, verse 19. What? Know you not that your body is the temple of the Ruach HaKodesh, which is in you, which you have of Elohim, and you are not your own. Okay? So remember, even with you'll see in some other verses that a woman's body is not her own, but her body belongs to her husband. The same thing. This body, whether you're married or not, belongs to the Ruach HaKodesh. So what we put on, what we do with it, we will be held accountable, because Yah seeks to dwell in these tabernacles of clay. All right. So this talks about fleeing fornication. It's one of the worst things you can do, right? To be joined to a harlot. And that also means don't treat your wife like a harlot, right? Men should not treat their wives like a harlot. Men should not seek to dress their woman, their wives, like a harlot. All right. And unfortunately, that happens. A husband should not be adorning his wife like a harlot, looking like a prostitute, and him saying, oh, it's cute, it's sexy, because that violates the scripture. Okay, I just read it there. What? 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 16. What? Know you not that he which is joined to a harlot is one body? For two, he has said, shall be one flesh. All right, so let's look at 1 Corinthians chapter 7. I think I'm going to start at... Okay. Verse 10. Let's start at verse 10. All right. I'm sorry. Let's start at verse 7. I mean, first verse. Start at the first verse. Now concerning the things whereof you wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. Okay. So they ain't married. Don't touch her. All right. It ain't complicated. You can go look at the Greek for touch. I can go do that for you. But for time's sake, okay, it is not good for a man to touch a woman. Don't offer anything for him to touch you. All right. You ain't married to him. Don't do it. Now, in verse 2, nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. Now, he didn't say let every man have his own wives. He said his own wife. Okay, just like in the beginning. And let every woman have her own husband. Verse 3, let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence. Okay, let's continue on. I'm sorry. So I'm going to go back and read. Now, I already read that part. Okay, let's do this part. Verse 3, let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence. Okay, what he's supposed to be benevolent. He's supposed to be very kind, gentle to his wife. He's supposed to build her up. Okay, that's benevolence, being very nice to his wife, what is due to her. Let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, and likewise also the wife unto the husband. So he's pouring out himself to her. So in response, she pours out herself to him. Okay, that is how it's supposed to. Life feeding unto life. Okay, continuing. Verse 4, the wife has not power of her own body, but the husband. And likewise, also the husband has not power of his own body, but the wife. Verse 5, defraud you not one the other, except it be with consent for a time, that you may give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and come together again, that Satan tempt you not for your incontinency. I'm sorry, for incontinency. Okay, so let's go look that up real quickly here. All right, I think it's important. Okay, defraud you not. Okay, so it's like the husband is not supposed to withhold that holy knowing from his wife. Likewise, the wife is not supposed to withhold the holy knowing from her husband. You don't use that to try to wield power or lack thereof in the relationship. Okay, they are expected to have frequent holy knowing, holy intimacy on a regular, except if they're fasting or praying. Otherwise, it's called defrauding. Okay, so let's look up the Greek for defrauding. Okay. So, defrauding, don't deprive. There it goes. So, in the Greek, Strong's 3361 and Strong's 650 in the Greek, essentially saying do not deprive your spouse of that. Don't have a lack of intimacy, a lack of holy knowing in the relationship. It's supposed to be a healthy, amount. If you're not involved in the act, then what you're supposed to do, during that time, you consent, you agree with one another, and you say, okay, for a week, I'm going to fast and pray. I don't want to be involved in that, and incontinence. Incontinence. I was referring. Intemperance means lack of restraint. Okay, lack of self-control, because somebody either the husband or wife, somebody's going to get tempted if they don't have that intimacy. Somebody might start getting involved in things they're not supposed to do. They might start watching things they're not supposed to watch. You're not supposed to provide that opportunity for the spouse to enter into sin. Okay? That's a big no-no. Next part, verse 6. But I speak this by permission and not of commandment. Okay, so he's just saying, he's giving some sound advice. Verse 7. For I would that all men were even as myself, but every man has his proper gift of Elohim, and one after this manner, and another after that manner. Verse 8. I say therefore to the unmarried and widows, it is good for them if they abide as even as I. Verse 9. But if they cannot contain, let them marry, for it is better to marry than to burn. Verse 10. And unto the married I command, yet not I, but Adonai, let not the wife depart from her husband. Let not the wife depart from her husband. But, verse 11, if she depart, okay, for whatever reason, she's being abused, whatever, she says, I got to get out of here. Let her remain unmarried or be reconciled to her husband, and let not the husband put away his wife. So they're encouraging not to go the route of divorce. If there is issues, you separate. Okay, if that's the way it has to be, but don't divorce. Okay, that is what he's saying based on what Adonai has told him. Verse 12. But to the rest speak I, not Adonai. If any brother has a wife that believes not, and she is pleased to dwell with him, let him not put her away. So you have an unbelieving wife, but she's willing to stay with you, stay. Verse 13. And the woman which has a husband but believes not, okay, unbelieving husband, if he be pleased to dwell with her, let her not leave him. Verse 14. For the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband. Else your children were unclean, but now are they holy. Verse 15. But if the unbelieving depart, let him depart. A brother or sister is not under bondage in such cases, but Elohim has called us to shalom, okay, to peace. All right. All right. I'm just trying to make sure there's nothing else here. There's some other advice. If you go through the scriptures, there's some other advice that is given regarding marriage. He that gives her in marriage does well, but he that gives her not in marriage does better. Okay, he's talking about the father who gives his daughter away in marriage, or the one who doesn't. That's still in chapter 7 of 1 Corinthians. Okay. Let's see. And keep in mind, verse 29, not 29, verse 39, it says, the wife is bound by the Torah as long as her husband lives, but if her husband be dead, she is at liberty to be married to whom she will, only in Adonai. Okay? So it's just saying that as long as her husband's alive, you're bound by that covenant. Doesn't matter if you separate, doesn't matter if there's divorce. In Yah's eyes, you're still bound by that covenant unless the spouse passes away. Then after that, you're free to marry. But if your unbelieving spouse departs, let him be, and you just remain single. Okay, that's pretty much what he's saying there. Okay, I'm just trying to make sure I've covered my bases. But you should take the time just to read that whole chapter. Romans chapter 7. Yeah. Okay. Let's look at Romans chapter 7, 2 and 3. For the woman who has a husband is bound by the Torah to her husband so long as he lives. But if the husband be dead, she is loosed from the Torah of her husband. So then, if while her husband lives, she be married to another man, she shall be called an adulteress. But if her husband be dead, she is free from that Torah, so that she is no adulteress, though she be married to another man. Okay? All right. So, with that, I am going to conclude part 2, and I will be doing part 3 later. Obviously, part 3 is we're gonna look at the consequences, some of the Torah that talks on marrying. I'm just trying to check to see. Yes. I had my sheet of paper somewhere. Now I don't know where it's at. Okay. And these are some other notes that are separate. Yeah. I did read Solomon chapter 8, verse 9 and 10. Also, Solomon chapter 8, verse 3 somewhat refers to the embrace of a husband and wife. Really, it's referring to the consummation, where it says, his left hand should be under my head and his right hand should embrace me. Okay, so I did the Hebrew for that. This is a Hebrew idiom. I have it as such so you can pause it. So when I translate it, it's his left below my head, which means like a shaking. Okay, so he's grasping her head. His right hand or side, it could mean the south. Okay, is a code name. It could be a code name. His right hand could mean the south, embraces, class, embrace, fold. But the word actually there, the root base word within that last word in Hebrew could mean to pour open, to burst forth. Okay, so his south burst forth. All right, so it could be, this phrase could actually be used as a Hebrew idiom for consummation of a marriage. Okay, so I'm just trying to make sure I cover my little tidbits here. Okay. And there's some stuff about the Garden of Eden that I will mention probably in a later video. But we will be looking at the profane, what profanes or defiles a marriage bed, because there are some things that does and can defile the marriage bed. So with that, I'm going to say shalom, shalom. As I said, I will be editing this video. So until next time, I'll see you soon. I'll probably do part 3 tomorrow because it's late. All right. I'll see you later. Shalom.